Hi everyone. Here we are in the middle of another cold and flu season. And what's characterized this year, as it was last year, is that it's been a lot more intense than it used to be in the past. And there's a very good reason for that. We've just come through a pandemic. And during that time, we were in isolation a lot of the time. And that means that on a day-to-day basis, we weren't exposed to the usual volume and varieties of different types of viruses and other pathogenic organisms like we are in a normal year. That has a couple of consequences. First of all, it's kind of like exercising our muscles by lifting weights. Regular exposure to these types of organisms helps to keep our immune system primed, so it's better to able to respond to these things when we're exposed to them again in the future. And more specifically, a lot of the cold and flu viruses that reoccur from year to year seasonally are rhinoviruses and coronaviruses, which are very, very rapidly mutating viruses. What this means is that our body can never really truly become 100% immune to them. But through regular exposure, we can develop a certain amount of baseline immunity so that when we get exposed to them in the future, we usually won't experience quite as long or intense an illness as we would if we hadn't seen those kinds of things for a long period of time. So regular exposure is actually a good thing as long as it's not too much for our body to handle. Of course, it's very important that we do our best to keep our immune system strong and healthy in general so that we're better able to deal with these types of illnesses when we're exposed to them. And of course, that always begins with diet and lifestyle. It means we need to eat well, we need to get sufficient rest and sleep, and get enough exercise, and deal with stress as best that we can in our lives, because stress is one of the major factors which has a tendency to suppress our body's immune response. And that includes worrying about getting sick. These illnesses are always going to be with us. What we need to focus on is doing our best to make sure that we're strong and healthy and able to deal with them when we're exposed to them. And of course, we also have available to us a lot of very valuable herbal medicines which can help build our body's immune response, both in terms of treating active infections when they occur and in terms of using them as tonics to help keep our immune system in good shape so that we can deal with those things when they arise. At the center of all of this are the herbs that we call immunomodulators. Immunomodulators come in two broad categories. Traditionally, we refer to those as immune stimulants and immune tonics. Immune stimulants are actually not true stimulants in the way caffeine, for instance, stimulates our nervous system. The term stimulant is meant to convey the fact that they act very, very rapidly. What characterizes immune stimulants is that they're used in larger quantities for shorter periods of time, and that they bring about a very, very rapid increase in the body's immune response, which is what we need when we're dealing with an active infection. Unfortunately, though, the effects of immune stimulants wear off fairly quickly. So after you've been taking them for a couple of weeks, the effect starts to wear off. In contrast to that are the immune tonics. Immune tonics work in a very different way. They have to be taken in more normal doses over a long period of time, generally several months, during which time they gradually and very deeply build up the body's immune system, so that when we discontinue their use, the results are maintained for a much longer period of time. They're not appropriate for use in an active infection because they don't work quickly enough, but they're very, very good to help build our immune system and prevent serious illness. So in summary, immune stimulants are used in higher and more frequent doses during active infections, and immune tonics are used in normal doses over long periods of time. One type, the immune stimulants, is good to treat active infections. The other is more for prevention. So, in future videos, what I'm going to talk about are these two different approaches and the different types of herbs that are needed in order to fulfill their purposes.